Alan Brennan here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial, sure, and it is the big question. We are Londoners. We live in London. We work in London. We live outside London, but do you know what I mean?
London, London boroughs.
Yeah, it's all encompassing. You know, I fucking work for London Underground, for goodness sake. So we obviously frequent the venues of London, and there are many venues. We're talking about music venues here, from the big ones like the O2 Arena and Wembley Stadium. Yes, we have been at Wembley Stadium. To the smallest of the small, your little pub venues where there's a tiny little stage and someone belting out karaoke from our local town, elements like that. We're going to talk about them. In particular, the big question is this: what's our favourite London live venue? This could vary. It's really going to depend upon your experiences of those venues. And mine have chopped and changed over the years, depending upon my experiences of said venues. Like my one right now isn't what I might have said a year ago. That's kind of a thing based on experiences more than anything else. But before we just come out and say, this is it, we'll choose some random ones and pros and cons of some of them. So I will throw out a random one and we'll do some pros and... You know what? Actually, fucking perfect. Wembley Arena. The pros and cons of Wembley Arena.
Okay. Pros. Let's be positive first before we get negative. Pros.
I'm going to come up with one. If you can't think of one, I'm going to come up with one. All right. The whole seated at Wembley Arena is as good as standing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. I think like I'm really struggling only because I was only there last fucking week.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. I mean, look, obviously the fact that you're only going to be at Wembley Arena for a certain size of band, right? So that usually means it's going to be a good show. So I guess that's kind of a pro. If I'm at Wembley Arena, it's going to be for something big. I do like the venue itself. I think it has good sound. I don't think I have any issues there. Anytime I've been there with sound quality or the like. But that's about it. I mainly have cons for Wembley Arena, to be honest with you. I don't know if you got any more pros.
No, because all I'm thinking about is the negatives, and most of it exists before you get into the venue, and then the area before you get into the arena.
Yeah, and that's really where a lot of it sort of lies for me. Like, and these are the factors that affect whether a venue is good or not, right? It's not just about whether or not it's technically like efficient and capable, and it's also about things like ease to get to, ease to get in. And these days for me, like other factors as well are like what sort of beers can I get, like, do you know what I mean? It means like I don't want to be drinking like shit beer all fucking night, man. It kills it for me a little bit. And that's where Wembley Arena should smash it, but fucks it for me. So you remember we went there for Machine Head, they had the craft beer stall, which barely worked, and they would spend like 45 minutes trying to pour one pint, and it was just fine. Exactly the same thing again at Sabaton. I got one pint out of it. The next time I went there, they were just standing there filling jugs with foam and going, sorry, we're having troubles. Ended up drinking Heineken. Yeah.
What a beer.
So, you look at a big venue like that and they can't even fucking manage to get it to the point where you can pour a pint. The biggest complications I had at Wembley Arena is when that place is full, that area outside of the main arena, like inside the venue, but outside the going through the doors to the arena, fucking hard to maneuver, man.
It's quite small, isn't it?
Yeah, sold out at Sabaton, trying to get from the merch back through the baby metal set. I couldn't even move. It's just working your way through trying to get there. I think in the arena part itself, no problems. Like, it's good, great view, like you said, good sound, all that sort of stuff, but it's just the workings of a big venue, right? Massive queues for everything, 40-minute or probably 20-minute queue to get a t-shirt. Everything's bigger. The show's bigger, the sound's bigger, it's all fantastic, but also the queues are bigger. You know what I mean? So like everything's just bigger, all the pros and cons. In terms of getting there, in the past, that used to be my biggest con. It's a lot easier these days because of the Elizabeth line,
of course.
But back in the olden days, when you had to get your way there, like you was on, I think the Jubilee line for like an hour or whatever, like 45 minutes probably, or it felt like an hour.
Well, whisper it quietly, but the biggest secret for getting to Wembley is do not use the Jubilee line. Use the Metropolitan line.
That's exactly what we did. Because it's just one stop going the same way. It just goes, oh yeah, but the other one stops at every single station, and this one just
skips
goes.
a ton of them. Exactly that.
But yeah, so look, mostly cons, man. It's a shame, but
it's not up there. It's kind of why I threw it out then. All right, you throw one out and we'll see if that one lands.
all right, let's go to the other end of the scale. Leo's Red Lion, Gravesend.
Oh, right. So this, mate,
This is
right,
literally the other end of the scale.
It really, really is. I'm going to come in straight. I'm not going to be negative, but I'm going to come in straight with a con because it's the first thing I jump to immediately, which is simply its location and getting there. Even if you're using public fucking transport, this is hard to get to. It's all because of that. That is the ultimate negative I can put around. But I'd also say like the actual pub part is a little bit too old-timey for my liking, personally. But the venue itself, both indoors and outdoors, is one of the better venues we've got left in Kent. In the southeast part, we've seen some great bands there, both indoors and outdoors. I've always got good memories of the experience.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I absolutely agree with you. You got a taxi. That's the only way to get there and back, man. Either lifts or taxis, because you drive. You got a fair drive to go, and you can't be drinking.
Yep.
Getting there on trains and stuff, that's just a pain in the ass, to be honest. Like, it's not even like there's a train station near Leo's Red Lion. You've got to make your way from the train station, which will probably be a taxi ride anyway. But the drink situation's pretty crap.
Yes.
It's the venue itself, though, like the indoor, and I agree, like seeing bands outdoors there as well. Absolutely great. Really, really good. Good sound, good vibe whenever you get like a decent band in there. Everything about the venue, I really, really enjoy. It's just quite an old-fashioned pub, and that's it. Old-fashioned pubs are cool, and it's quite historic as well, which is quite cool as well. Like you said, it's probably the last real big kind of. That's probably not. We don't know. I don't know all the venues in Kent. Is the problem?
Of course.
So certainly in terms of our location, it's very well known, well respected, and it's been around a long time, which you kind of see when you're there, and a lot of the history and the pictures that are on the wall and all that, which I quite like. All the bands that have played there. And we've seen some good bands there as well. Not just like tiny ones. Yeah, like While She Sleeps is probably up there with one of, if not the biggest one I've seen there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's obviously the home for Metal to the Masses Kent now as well, which is also cool. So,
absolutely, it is a good venue. It is a good venue, but certainly not up there as my favorite. Right, I'm going to throw out a potential favorite. I'm going to put it out now, as we've done those two at opposite ends of the scale. This is actually one that sits in the middle, funny enough, of those two, and it is in Camden. It is, of course, the Roundhouse. The pros are heavy on this one, but there are some negatives. What do you got for this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree that it's definitely up there on the positive side of things. I've never had a bad experience at the Roundhouse, personally. Never. And that's seeing many different bands out of many different genres. So sound-wise.
And sold out to not sold out levels as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had good fun downstairs at the Roundhouse. I've had good fun upstairs at the Roundhouse. I think the bars are all right. I've not really got much in the way of problems with that sort of stuff. For the Roundhouse, mostly I side on the side of pros.
Yep.
If I had a con, I suppose my only con with it is just a little bit out of the way. That's it. It's not massively out of the way, but it's just a little bit out of the way.
It is a walk away from Camden Town. Obviously, Chalk Farm's opposite, but Chalk Farm's on another branch. So if that train's come along and you've got to wait an extra 5 minutes, and that's just the inconvenience. But I've got a big pro about the Roundhouse. Big con about the Roundhouse, because I agree with everything you said about the pro. I would argue that the Roundhouse is my venue of choice when it comes to sound, more than anything else. And I also, like you, I've done standing upstairs at the back, but I've also done seated when I saw video games live there, and that was immense as well. There's plenty of bars, well positioned, well spaced out, always easy to get a drink. The merch which isn't the biggest, is normally perfectly fine if you play it smart. Come back a bit later when a band's playing, you can just walk straight up to them. Elements like that. Even coming in and out, the outer foyer is spacious. It looks cool as fuck inside. It always feels like a big deal when a band's playing the Roundhouse. However, a venue that fucking size has some of the smallest toilets I've ever seen. That is fucking weird. it still blows my mind how many, like on the floor, on the ground floor, on the male side, there is, I think, two urinals, 2 or 3 urinals and 1 cubicle. And it's like, the fuck? And it's weird because you have to come out to like a lobby area and you're like, no one thought of like maybe making this bigger, like toilets. It's weird. It's blows my mind.
They obviously haven't quite clocked what happens to us males, and I'm presuming females too. When
Well,
we've
I
had a
presume
drink
women
and we
have got the
break
same
and
problem.
we break the seal. We need that
Yes.
toilet.
Yes, that's my biggest con of it. It's crazy. Like when you go to a place like the Underworld and see that's a bigger toilet, like way bigger toilet with it's crazy.
Yeah,
that's about all I got though.
Yeah, so like still leans heavily on the pro side of things, and it's a good venue.
All right, we'll do 1 or 2 more, and then we'll pull out our
right.
favorites personally. So you got one.
All right, let's go with. I've got so many like going through my head. I'm just trying to choose. Let's go with Shepherd's Bush. Let's go out off track a little bit.
Oh my god!
I mean, I've seen a fair few bands at Shepherd's Bush Empire over the years. I haven't seen one for a while, to be fair. So I don't know if it's kind of off the rotation at the moment or something like that. But I've seen quite a few. Weirdly enough, my only real con with it, my experience is where it is.
Yeah.
And being a trek to get to. That's really it. Because actually every gig I've seen there, I've had a really good time. The sound has been good. The venue's nice. Very kind of old school sort of theatre. So I've always had a really, really good experience there. But it is one where I dread to see it on the rotation because I'm like, oh, I'll get all the way to Shepherd's Bush.
Yeah. First world problems, but I hear you, man. It's immediately what I think about it. But I am going to throw in, because for me, it kind of Shepherd's Bush sits amongst the likes of Brixton and Hammersmith. Is just like I find them all quite similar. But Shepherd's Bush has an odd bar setup, which has this massive long bar, which is kind of like 3/4 of the way into the venue. And basically getting a drink can be a real hardship because that area behind the bar is where everybody moves. But it's also where a lot of people stand. And watch. So that's always a little bit of an issue. A Solex show at the Shepherd's Bush Empire can be uncomfortable, I found personally. We'll make a small complaints, little bitches. But I've got a number of different memories about Shepherd's Bush Empire. From the last time I saw Children of Bodom played brilliantly. Was there to Dan's first gig, Less Than Jake, and the guy jumping off the balcony and stopping the show because he got hurt, all these different things. And of course, that was the venue where the balcony collapsed, or was it the roof that collapsed a few years back too, as well? So it was closed for a while. Yeah, because I was supposed to see Clutch there. And then that happened. I think the balcony collapsed and Clutch ended up moving to Brixton. But it happened so close to the date and the size of Shepherd's Bush and Brixton, it was like a half full Clutch gig. So it was like really unfortunate and weird and odd, like for that sort of scenario. But it's certainly not up there as my favorite, not even close. Okay, what shall I choose? Shall I go small or big? No, I'm going to go big. I'm probably going to go the biggest arena we've got. Let's talk about the O2 Arena, which of course is situated in North Greenwich, the old Millennium Dome. Everybody plays there outside of metal. Very few metal bands play there. You have to be of a certain size to do this. Obviously, we've been in the past. I think, who have we probably seen? I've seen Rammstein there. I've seen Metallica there. I've seen Prince there. I think who else I've seen on that size. What about you?
Oh, don't ask me that. I've seen Metallica there twice, like you as well. I think I might have seen them. Yeah, I think I've seen them twice. Yeah, because we saw the once which was that £5 ticket, and then once which was the Death Magnetic tour.
Yeah.
Obviously we've seen the bands that came with them, which includes Machine Head. Sword. I've also, being a parent, had the pleasure of seeing a YouTuber called Jojo Siwa perform there.
Okay.
Many years ago, and also a school children's choir. Yeah.
All right.
So, I haven't, for me, like in terms of scale of bands, like in the metal side of things, I don't think I've seen anyone outside of Metallica there.
No, fair enough. There's not really a lot to say. It is an arena, a very big one and all that. I'm just going to touch upon the biggest pro of all about that fucking venue, unless it's changed since I was last time there. But it might be the worst beer outside of Wembley Arena, choice of drinks and price of drinks that you have at the O2.
Yeah, cons, very expensive. Not a great choice. fucking untold people, but it is a big venue, and there's
Mhm.
like, you don't, even when I've been there for like, I don't know if Metallica was sold out or anything like that, but I never really felt like I couldn't move around and all that sort of stuff. So there's things like that I do appreciate. Obviously, as well on the pro side of things, location, happy with the location,
Of course.
you know. Um, Anything in that area really, because we have obviously seen people in the smaller version of it.
Oh yeah, the Indigo.
You know, so it's quite cool to have stuff like around the corner really. Um, but yeah,
Actually, we can correct that then because we were at the Indigo recently, which of course would have the same drink options as the
yes.
O2, and the Indigo was had pretty good options actually.
Yeah, maybe it's changed now. Like I
Maybe
think
it
we was able to
has.
get like Camden Hells and like things like
Mm.
that in there now. So yeah, so if that's changed, like yay.
Come on, a band that I like. Play the O2 so I can find out.
Yeah, yeah. Who are you thinking?
I don't know. I don't see
How much
bands
are
of
you,
that size
how
anymore.
much are you willing to pay for a
Yeah,
ticket?
that's it.
But yeah, it comes with a price. So like, I ain't got an awful lot in the way of pros, man. Firstly, I mean the chances of us being in there again, slim. Yeah, it's not none because yeah, there's a possibility that
Of course.
I think like there was a few scheduled, weren't there? Like, I'm not saying that we had tickets for, but weren't Ozzy and Priest meant to be there?
Was it there? You might be right. I think it might have been there. Yeah,
Yeah,
must have been there because he ain't doing a stadium and arena's
nah,
too small, so it must have been the O2.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was there. So yeah, no, there's always been like a possibility of like you have to be a scale, like the scale's massive though.
I know who the band is that we would pay likely a decent wedge for based off what we've talked in the past, and they would play the O2 because of the size.
See Leonardo. No, I'm joking.
Thinking a bit big there, but yeah, no, Iron Maiden.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, greatest hits tour
Yeah,
in there. Yeah, yeah.
watch out for that one. They're still
Look,
going.
pros about it though, like as well, right? Look, from my memory of the few things that I've seen there, good sound. I don't recall ever having issues in there, like even with Machine Head being a support act and thinking like, oh, it sounds terrible or anything like that. I think it had a good sound. I've never sat down at the O2 other than for the kids stuff. I'm not including that.
Mm,
I've only stood, so I don't know what it's like if I'm 10 miles up in the air because some of those surrounding seated areas are high up, whether the
yeah.
sound is a problem up there. But down at the floor level sounds good.
Okay. Of course, across London, we have the likes of the Hammersmith Apollo, sorry, the Event Time Apollo. I
Yeah.
don't call it
Try
that
to keep up with the
anymore.
sponsors, man.
Yeah, kidding me. Underworld Electric Ballroom, the Dev itself, the Forum up in Kentish Town. Further down, things like Electric Brixton, which
Yeah.
is in Brixton itself. Cart and Horses, a little further along, if you want a pub venue. There are
Got
so
the
many. We're
Dome,
spoiled.
you got Tufnell Parkway, ain't you? You got
Of course.
229 Club. You got lots of like these small ones scattered around as well, ain't you?
Yeah, Boston
Um,
Music Room directly under the
Boston
dome.
Music Room, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are gonna choose our favorite. I'll go first. I'll go first. So for a longest time, I would have said the Roundhouse. I really would have said the Roundhouse based off all my experiences there and the sound and so on. But in recent times, thanks to a different level of not only bands I've seen, there's a weird point where I saw like Napalm Death followed by Roller Tomasi, two different bands in the space of a week in this venue, and they both were fucking immense. I realized I really like this venue. I like the beer choices. I like the bar. I like how the merch is set up. I like the floor. I like the different positioning. I like the toilets. I like the ease of getting in and out. But not only that, is it also does variety because in this past year, I've seen a lot of wrestling take place in this venue, which is maddening when you know it and you think of a wrestling ring and seats and all that. And it's like, it fucking works and it's cool. I am, of course, talking about Camden's Electric Ballroom. It is my favorite venue. Everything about this venue now smashes it for me. I always seem to have the most fun in there than I do anywhere else. It's a close call because I would have probably chosen, if not the Roundhouse, maybe the Boston Music Rooms, because often I find that venue just a delight to be in as well. But everything about the ballroom is just working wonders for me. So that's my choice.
It I was laughing when you were saying it
Yeah, that
because
was you
I
laughing.
had kind of settled on what my choice was, and then you started talking about it. But I hadn't quite clocked what it was until you said the wrestling thing, and I remembered where you said you saw it, and I was like, "Oh my God, what are the chances out of all the London venues that are available that we would end up choosing the same one?" But I guess
Oh, well,
it speaks volumes for the venue, right? I did debate back and forward between that and the Forum, right? But the Forum is more on experience there. I do like the Forum as the venue, so that's why I was debating it. I have had bad experiences there, or not as good experiences, which is why I decided to go with the Electric Ballroom because I can't think of a con for it, and that's the real truth with it. Its location, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like it's absolutely perfect in terms of the station and everything like that. Every show I can remember seeing in there, I've had an absolute blast. You know, Evil Scarecrow, I think was the last one I saw there. Maybe not, maybe Cradle, but anyway, like Cradle of Filth. I've seen many bands there. Always had a good time. Everything that you said, I agree with. Drink selection is good. Getting in and out is easy. It's a great fucking venue. It's an absolutely phenomenal venue. So yeah, of all those choices that we had and all those names we threw out, we both settled on the same one. So
it speaks volumes about it. In fact, I forgot I was only there a matter of weeks ago seeing Bloodywood at a sold-out show. And for the first time, I actually went upstairs for that. And I still had a great time upstairs as well. And I wasn't drinking for that. I was sober because I had to go to work. And yeah, so it was a hell of an experience. And of course, as we've talked about in other videos, we'll be there again for Incineration Fest, where a lot of the bands want to see are playing. And that makes me really happy because it's like, oh, great, it's in the Electric Ballroom.
Don't let us down now, Ballroom.
yeah. There you go. That's what our favourite London venue is right now. What's yours? You know what to do. Let us know in the comments.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?